Hey guys, welcome to this technique analysis of the knockout, which was surprising for some people, of Weili Zhang against Jessica Andrade in last weekend's fight. Now, lots of stuff we can say here, but I'm going to try to keep it tight this video. So, first off, straight from the beginning, what you saw is that, as usual, Jessica tries to bully her way forward, and Zhang backed up quite well, used pretty decent footwork to keep her at bay, and used a lot of lead leg, inside leg kicks to test the waters, and then she used her jab effectively, and that's what you see here. So she threw that jab, and what she typically did was move a little bit off to the side at the same time, so trying not to stand still in front of Jessica, which is actually quite a good strategy, obviously. So this is how, in my opinion, it actually all started. A lot of people talked about that right hand that clearly rocked Andrade, but yeah, I think there's more to it than that. It starts a little bit earlier, and it's in this exchange. So she starts with the left hand, and then what we get right after is that she engages again with the lead leg, inside leg kick that she liked to use just to first test the waters and then set up what comes now. So we can see here that Jessica is pretty much trying to use her own leg, but you see the inside leg version actually hits quite well. Now, here we get this flurry. Here we get this exchange that comes right after, and we get the typical thing we see with Andrade is that she makes these big arcing punches towards the opponent. Now, these are very powerful. You can ask Karolina Kowalkiewicz what she thinks about that after getting knocked out by one of these, but they have some downside as well, and we can see something, which is kind of like a preview of what's to come in a few seconds, is that Zhang managed to get on the inside with her right hand here. So this is more a chance encounter, actually. So you've got the arm of Andrade here, and Zhang is on the inside. And we'll get back to that in a second. But in this flurry, in this exchange, I think this is the first significant punch that lands. And you can see that Zhang here lands this nice left hook. So if you watch it in slow motion, the angle isn't perfect in the fight, but you can see that she throws her right hand first. That's the previous image. And then she throws that left hand and it lands. Now, when you look at how Jessica's face is exposed here, well, it's not surprising that she got rocked here. So she's pulling her left arm all the way back because she wants to throw another big left hand in a looping fashion, as she likes to do. And then at the same time, we see that her right hand here is all the way down. So that gives Zhang a clean shot here towards the face, and Jessica's just wide open for that. So that's the main thing that starts that. And what you see as soon as this happened, so you've got the left hand of Jessica that is over here, and she wants to pretty much set up that big power shot again, but it doesn't work. She's too late. It's just a fraction of time that is lacking for her to land that. And the result is that she gets clocked the first time, but not all that hard. Now, if you watch carefully, what you'll see is at this point, she kind of stumbles a little bit. You see that she's a little bit out of position, but she keeps going. And I think Zhang actually quite well noticed that, and that gave her the confidence to keep on going, seeing very clearly on from the first time that she connects with a hook that it actually has an effect. So next part that happens here is that Zhang backs up wisely, and she creates some distance again. So you see that she creates space, and Jessica does what she always does, what she has been doing through her entire career. She goes forward, she goes after her. And obviously that wasn't the smartest move, as we know now, because what happens next is we get another exchange, which is once again, you can see that they close the distance. And I think this one was also started with a lead leg, inside leg kick. And here we can see that Jessica throws his left hand, and I think that one actually landed, but didn't land with enough power to stop what comes after. So again, we get this flurry, we get this exchange, and I'll see if I can pause it. And here is something interesting. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see better the action here. Zhang did that repeatedly. So if you watch the fight carefully, you'll see that she has this framing hand here, and at the same time that left arm over here is going to try to also either frame or reach out, stop, push, grab, whatever. And obviously that sets up a bunch of techniques, namely knee strikes, which we'll see later, but also elbows and more. So what this does is, in effect, stop that big left hand that Jessica just threw. So that's what happens here. And I changed the angle because in the previous angle, I'll go back one frame so you guys can see it a little bit better. So the next angle, the referee stepped pretty much over here into frame, and we missed just a fraction of a second that I wanted to show. So that's why I'm showing you guys this different angle, so you're not confused about what's going on. Now, what happens right after, and again, this frame is solid. So you'll see if you watch it again that this frame here that she puts up, the kind of blocking motion to stop that big looping punch from coming in, is quite solid. And it stops the punch pretty much cold. And that is the key point, because at this stage, this is where she throws that right elbow. So you can see it right here from that frame, from that block, however you want to call it. She immediately launches into that right elbow, and that one lands a little bit better than the previous left hook that landed. And this is only a handful of seconds later that Jessica takes another pretty nasty shot to the head. Now I'll go a little bit further out so you can see it better. Okay, so this is the same technique, the same elbow, but seen from a different camera angle, so you get a better view. So here you see previously that arm was up here, her right forearm was up, and then she made the looping motion into that elbow strike that then landed a lot better, just square on Jessica's face. And you can see here a little bit of the motion here in her head, the impact. It landed quite well. And again, don't forget, a few seconds after she got rocked very lightly, but still it had an effect on that left hook. So next part of the sequence, once again, Zhang is smart. She keeps backing up and regaining distance. Now she has a reach advantage, so this is smart for her to do so. The typical problem that people have with somebody like Andrade is that she is just so aggressive coming forward, and you know that if she can't catch you with either left or right big looping haymaker or long hook, however you want to call those, if it lands, well, you're either going to take damage or you just might get knocked out. So a lot of fighters are pretty careful trying to get all the way out there and get a kickboxing match at range. But Jessica's getting quite well at closing that distance, and she's just become a lot more aggressive ever since she, the last few fights, she's been even more aggressive. As you can see, that her stamina, has gotten quite good. So she just, bulldozes people. But she's been hit twice now in this sequence. Now you can see that she's again launching forward, and one of the key points that I keep telling students is that you have to be careful. Do not lead with your chin. You don't have to be in a low crouch and tuck your head into your stomach, but you don't want to put it out there either. And this is especially dangerous when you have somebody who has a longer reach than you, as is the case here. So Zhang backs up, Jessica keeps going forward, and then we get another exchange. Notice once again that right hand frame is here covering against that first strike. And you can see that the left hand is starting to come forward here again. So I think this is the fraction of a second just before she extends that arm, if I'm not mistaken. So that is what happens in this next flurry. And here we have the left arm reaching out, and it didn't land quite well. I think it was more of a pawing, pushing action. It wasn't really a full strike, even though it looks like this one. But this one didn't do the damage. Don't forget, Jessica's still coming forward. She's still advancing. Then at this point, Zhang is quite smart, and she rotates, and I'm changing the angle again so you can see, and she throws that right hand. And this is the fraction of a second right after the punch lands here and comes across, and just you can see that it rotates the chin of Jessica Andrade, which is one of the key ways that you can get somebody reeling, and if they're not knocked out right away, they're at the very least, the brain scrambled and they have a hard time staying up. Now, this whole sequence takes only a second or so, but it's all about Jessica coming forward and running into incoming fire, which she has no defense against because she's just rushing in. Now, this is the beginning of the end, because what happens right after is that here she stumbles and she's clearly hurt. There's no mistaking anymore. And this is all in a matter of a handful of seconds that this happened, from that first left hook that lands to the elbow and now this big right hand. So she's been taking quite a bit of damage, increasingly so as she keeps trying to go forward. Now, she instinctively comes forward and we end up in this clinch position. And what we see here is, once again, that left hand of Zhang is going to take over the bracing framing position. She's going to use the right hand to throw elbows, short elbows, as she's kind of pushed up against the fence, and Jessica's trying to do her best to hopefully recover from that right hand. But here we get into something interesting. Zhang's been quite smart. So she takes Thai plum, so a Thai clinch, and she goes into the knee strikes. Now, typical thing what people do is then just insist on the knees, but she's quite smart. What she does is she does 1 or 2 knees, and then she goes into an elbow strike. And that is the clever part. And that gets her off the fence, and then she keeps doing that. So she keeps trying to control the head of Jessica with a double-handed grip. And when she starts losing the grip as the knee strikes that she lands, as these keep on impacting, what she gets there is a change in angle. So I'll get everything away here. So Jessica's oriented straight towards the screen, and Zhang is oriented here at almost a 90-degree angle. So Jessica doesn't have anybody in front of her. If she wants to defend against this, she's gonna have to rotate towards the opponent, and that's not working because Zhang's insisting on just landing blow after blow, knee after knee, and then she follows up immediately with what you see here, these short, chopping, slightly downward elbows that she throws from short range. And if you notice the fight, you'll see that every time she loses the double hand grip, this is what comes out. And as a result, Jessica keeps taking more and more damage. And she starts backing up, but it doesn't help because Zhang keeps going forward. And then we get the part where Zhang is just rushing forward. She's running forward, but keeping her balance, staying upright. And she throws this 3-part combination where the last one here, you get a nice right hand. And this is a fraction of a second before it lands. So that's what happens here. She's running forward, Jessica's running backwards. But as we all know, most people cannot run backwards faster than somebody else can run forwards, especially athletes. So running back, it's not going to help. Now, don't forget, Jessica's been hurt. She stumbled, and she's eaten a bunch of knees and a bunch of short shots, short elbows to the back of the head, to the side of the head. We can argue about that, but she's taken quite a bit of damage. And this one lands flush. If you watch the video, you'll see that that right hand goes all the way through and it rotates the chin of Jessica, and then she goes down. And at that point, we then get how it ended, and we had a few more punches going downwards, and that was pretty much it. Now, I'm going to bring it all the way back to the beginning so you guys can see. My point is this: it starts with Weili Zhang being very smart and trying to maintain distance, and as she backpedals and as she creates some angles by moving slightly to the side and circling a little bit, she makes it difficult for Jessica to just get anything going. However, when she engages in these flurries, she stayed at the furthest range she could manage, and then try to get a few short shots in and then move out. And whether you can call that luck or skill, I'm going to leave that in the middle, but she played it smart, and this is the first one that lands, and that sets up everything else. Each time she had a short flurry of movement between them both, she backed up, she got out of there, as you can see right after this one. Short flurry, get out of there. Short flurry, get out of there again. And the key point, in my opinion, here is that this seems very clearly trained response of putting up that frame and then using the other hand either to frame or to set up a strike. And she uses that consistently throughout the fight. Now, I think Jessica did as best she could, given the circumstances, getting rocked very early in the fight. So it's, it kind of sucks to be on the receiving end of such punishment when it's your first title defense. But on the other hand, all credit to Weili Zhang, because she put up a great fight. Now, To end on a different note, a lot of people have commented on Zhang being, well, she's just cannon fodder. She's going to be thrown to the wolves, and she doesn't have the pedigree to stand in front of Andrade. Well, we kind of saw that wasn't true. Now, I started my competitive career in Chinese martial arts. I competed in Sanshou, or Sanda, for those who don't know, which is a Chinese version of kickboxing. One of the things that people seem to forget is that China is a pretty big country, and they train differently over there. Now, I have students who still go to China regularly for business, and they tell me the same thing over and over. Wherever you go, what you see is BJJ and MMA. There's not a lot of Kung Fu anymore to be found. There's lots of MMA. So it's changing. They've got a huge pool of talent over there. And all those Chinese guys, they want to take over the UFC. So now that they've got a world champion in Zhang, you can bet that there was millions of Chinese watching that fight. Remember that image of her getting her hand raised with the Chinese flag draped all over her shoulders? Loads of people have seen that. So MMA is going to get even more popular, and we're going to see more Chinese athletes coming for belts, which is going to make it all the more interesting, because the thing you have to understand about Chinese training systems is that everybody trains hard all over the world. Yeah. The difference with the Chinese is that you don't like it, you don't want to train as hard, it's fine. We've got about 1,000 people ready to take your spot, because they've got such a huge population. So there's always this huge talent pool of people who do want to do the work, who do want to get advance their career, and are willing to train harder if you aren't willing to do so. So that's going to give an interesting generation of Chinese fighters that are up and coming, which we've seen in this event. And hopefully, everybody is going to follow suit, and everybody's level is going to rise. And we as fans are going to get to watch a lot more entertaining fights. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Follow us on Facebook. You go to facebook.com/MMA Formula. Obviously, like, share, subscribe. Pass on the word if you enjoy this. There's lots more to come. Take care.